Whether it's the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, or Aggies, these guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
1, 2, 3, move it.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hey, we're teaming up with Beehive Meals to honor people that impact youth sports in our communities. Nominate the youth sports volunteer you know for the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week at kslsports.com/contest. And listen, every Thursday to JJ and Alex for the winner. It's the Beehive Meals Hero of the Week. Crazy. My daughter's soccer gets kicked up this week. PK was telling us he's playing in his league.
Yeah.
We really didn't have a winter.
No winter.
It just didn't happen.
PK's playing in a soccer league?
Did I say sorry? His golf league.
Men's league.
Men's league.
Well, you didn't clarify
Men's
golf.
soccer
You were talking about soccer, then you said PK's played in his league.
No, my daughter has soccer practice tonight.
Yeah.
And
I
was surprised that PK's golf league, Christian, started up already. And I just thought, wow, we've got to have at least one snow left in us,
Probably
right?
have at least one left, but I think it's going to be high 70s end of next week. We got a warm front coming in.
I hardly got out my winter coat.
No, I don't think I wore my big KSL coat even once.
Wild.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the entire East Coast has been just
DJ
buried
was
in...
wearing his this morning. DJ had his big winter coat on today.
Well, DJ is cold a lot. I don't know why. It's not like it was in here when it used to be super freezing either.
No,
it's actually
it's
quite.
fine.
It's actually quite pleasant. Ben, I know you've been following this, the Jazz tankathon, whatever. What they have to do to keep their pick, lose their pick, whatever the case may be. Right now, they're one game in the win column behind New Orleans and one game in the win column behind Dallas, and that's what all the tank noters are freaking out about.
Yes. And are at a high level. There are 17 games left for the Jazz, and now there is one win or a half a game. Actually, it's a little bit more than that with Dallas, but Dallas has played 2 fewer games than them, so chance to make up on some of this ground. But, the fear that where the Jazz are right now in the 5th worst record, if they were to jump both New Orleans and Dallas, they would end up with the 7th worst record and have like an 88% chance of holding on to their pick, but a 1 in 10 chance of losing it. Now, I would still remind you, 1 in 10 chance of losing it is extremely unlikely. Still very unlikely. And if you only jump one of these teams, you end up with a 96% chance of holding onto your pick and only a 4% chance of it. Or extremely likely you hold on to it. Now, Dallas won the lottery last year with a little below 2% chance of moving up. But, the odds still are very much in the Jazz's favor that they're going to hold on to this pick. But the anxiety is certainly there that they're going to lose it. And I understand why Jazz fans have a particularly difficult relationship with the lottery because they've only moved up once, and that was the actually Brooklyn Nets pick. It wasn't even their own pick. So I do understand the nature of the anxiety. But again, look, even if the Jazz were to tie one of these teams at the end of the season, the lottery odds get added up and divided, and you just get the average of those two. So let's say the Jazz ended up tied for the 6th worst record with Dallas, which I think is somewhat realistic. They would take Dallas's 99% chance or the 99% chance of holding onto the pick and the 96% chance of holding onto the pick, add them together, divide them up, and you would end up with, 97.5% likelihood. So, again, I've got people right now in my mentions arguing with me about the Jazz not doing enough to tank to lose these games. Not doing enough last night, like allowing Keontae George to play, even though he didn't play in the 4th quarter, to, erase this cushion that they had created earlier and not trying hard or not caring about the pick. And I would just tell you, as much as we've talked about, these are human beings. It's kind of been the theme of today. These are human beings and people out there that you're watching and rooting for. They understand exactly what you're talking about. They feel the same anxieties you do. They understand the value of holding on to this draft pick. In fact, it matters way more to them than it does to you because it does matter for their jobs. Now, the players don't want the draft pick because that means somebody's coming in to take their job. That means somebody's coming in to be at the top of the roster, and that's not exactly what they want. Blake Hinson should not want the Jazz to get a lottery pick, nor should Elijah Harkless, nor should Oscar Tshiebwe. In fact, nor should basically anybody other than the top 2 or 3 players on the roster, maybe 3 or 4 players on the roster. There's no guarantee that whoever they draft doesn't come in and take Ace Bailey's job next year. Somewhat realistic. So I would just remind fans that while you have anxiety over the Jazz keeping the pick, I promise you they have it 1,000-fold more. Promise.
The front office, not
the front
players.
office, not the players, but the coaching staff, the front office, etc., all feel this anxiety way more than even you do. And so your portrayal of it on the internet, while I think is valid, I just don't think it's going unnoticed by the team, because I suspect still with 17 games to go, which is a lot of time. It's the 5th of the season still to play. The Jazz can take steps to make sure that they hold on to the pick, and I really believe they will.
Here's why I don't understand. The people that live life so angry about such minded. So the Jazz accidentally beat the Warriors. The Jazz basically accidentally beat the Wizards, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Trae Young makes his return. You know, the Jazz field a non-team and somehow come away with the win because Ace Bailey has the best game of his career. You know, like they accidentally won a game. What do you want to do? Tell Ace to not have a good game? Anyway, not the point. My point is, if the Jazz are accidentally winning games, how many games do you think Dallas is going to accidentally win? Or, I mean, New Orleans is actually trying. But, you know, Memphis is going to accidentally win. The Nets, who are 3 games back of the Jazz in the win column,
I've won 2 straight.
Beat Memphis last night and beat them by 11. I mean, how many of these teams are going to accidentally beat the other teams? You know, that streak Kevin was talking about where the bottom 10 teams in the league lost like 40 consecutive games. That's not going to happen going down the stretch. It's just not. These teams play each other, and how many games are you honestly going to accidentally win, especially given what we talked about yesterday, where the middle class of the NBA is just terrible.
Yeah.
Is just terrible. If you're trying to win and you could not beat the Jazz last night, I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
I don't know what to tell you.
You're trying to make the playoffs.
You are trying to win the game. You are playing lineups in theory. You are running plays in theory with the goal of victory in mind.
Mm-hmm.
And you could not beat the Jazz, who significantly hampered their roster before the game even started, and then played with their lineups so much that they were begging Golden State to win. And they can't do it. Like, point is, if that happens to the Jazz, it's going to happen to Dallas. It's going to happen to everybody. So living life just so into the standings with 17 to go that you would be upset over the Jazz accidentally winning is hilarious to me. Like, ease up. Dallas will accidentally beat somebody, I assure you. And you know what? If the NBA wants to screw the Jazz, they're just going to do it. I still don't like the whole live and die. Every reason I get out of bed in the morning is some minute lottery possibility of this or this is going to happen. Like, oh, the Jazz have a 10% chance. But you know what's better than that? A 9.4% chance to keep their pick. Life is too dang short, dude. At some point,
I'm with you.
At some point, the die is just cast. Like, if you cannot understand that literally they accidentally won the game last night and are going to be grumpy today, like, I don't know what to say. There's not more that they could do. There's not. Stop the Mo Bamba instead of Phil stuff. Stop it. There's nothing more that they could do outside of poison their own players or ask them to take a dive, which they're not going to do. So they've already asked the coach to take a dive, more or less. They're not going to ask him to go any further. At least I hope not.
And they will. They will ask the coach if the last 10 games of the season require the Jazz to go further. They will. I'm
talking about further than last night. I don't know how much further they can go.
They will take Kyle Filipowski and Keontae George and Bryce Sensabaugh out of the lineup entirely. Absolutely. If the Jazz have to, they will. But there are 17 games left in the season. There were 18 games left in the season. Pretending that you have to do it at that point, I think, is part of the frustration I have right now with the narrative around the team. I pulled up last year's standings, and the bottom, let's say I'll just go every team. So I think it's 6 teams that finished with fewer than 30 wins, which the Jazz are going to be in this group of teams this year. They're going to finish with fewer than 30 wins. How many of them you think lost their last 10 games? All 10. None. Exactly right. So the idea that, like, right now you know what the win totals are going to look like with 17 games to go is crazy. Only 3 teams of those bottom 10 won only one game, the Jazz included. The Charlotte Hornets only won one game in their final 10, and the Philadelphia 76ers only won one game in their final 10. They did everything they could to make sure they could hold on to their pick. The Jazz made sure they had the worst record in the NBA. The 76ers made sure that they didn't finish with worse record than 5th, because if they fell to 9th, exactly like the Utah Jazz, I think I was going to say they fell past 6th, their pick was going to the Oklahoma City Thunder. So the teams know where they have to finish to make sure they hold on to their picks, and then they do what they have to get there. But Washington, to close the season last year, won 2 of their final 10 games. New Orleans won 2 of their final 10 games. Brooklyn won 3 of their final 10 games. Toronto, which finished with 30 wins, won 5 of their final 10 games. So, and those were all tanking teams. So the idea that like Dallas, who is sitting 1 win ahead of the Utah Jazz right now, is not going to win again is wrong. Or Memphis, who's sitting 3 wins ahead of the Jazz, is not going to win again is wrong. And then New Orleans, who we know doesn't own their own pick, is absolutely going to win several games down the stretch because they are going to run into other teams who don't want to win or who are resting their players, just like the Warriors last night. And you can go back and look at every last 10 games for the last forever and find out how many teams actually went winless to close. It doesn't happen.
Because most playoff teams aren't trying to win either in the last week.
Right. So you're going to pick up a win here or there. So again, the frustration I have about what happened last night is not the Jazz winning a game. That doesn't matter to me one way or the other, win or lose. But the panic around the team entirely, which I do think still stems at times from the front office, but really is amplified from a fan base that isn't privy to the information. By the way, neither am I, but isn't privy to the Jazz's strategy to make sure they hold on to their pick. It gets amplified by a bigger crowd. And again, like we see, you can go back to the teams that have to hold on to their picks. They find a way to do it in the final 10 games of the season. They don't do it with 18 games left in the year. They really don't. They adjust. The Jazz didn't want to beat Milwaukee. The Jazz are happy they didn't win 3 games in a row. They're not going to want to beat New York tomorrow night. They're going to find ways to avoid winning either at New Orleans or at Sacramento. Probably going to win one of the two. Still got Milwaukee coming into town. Like, you've got some games that are winnable. The Jazz are going to have to take steps to make sure they don't win those. They don't have to do it last night. They don't have to. And even then they tried, but it wasn't the last game of the season where if you win that game, you lose the pick. They're not dealing actually with that narrow of margins yet, even though I understand it feels that way.
And so at some point the die is cast. What are you going to do? At some point it is what it is. And I hate that phrase, but it's true. Now, if the NBA left 4 teams ahead of the Jazz to lose the pick, everybody in town's going to believe me that the lottery's fixed.
Yep.
And that would be the funniest thing to happen. But let's pretend like that happened. Everyone wants to talk about it being the end of the franchise. It's really not. The Jazz are still in a good position to make
they still make the playoff
push next year.
No.
They're still in position.
Jake,
Ace Bailey could easily develop into an absolute baller. I mean, even if the worst happened, the sun still comes up, I assure you. And the Jazz have plenty of resources still in the bank to make big moves or trade back into the draft or do all sorts of things. So even if the worst case scenario happens, it's not the end of the world.
Con Knippel's the best rookie in the NBA this year. He might get the Hornets into the play-in tournament. The play-in tournament, top 10. Next best is Cooper Flagg. Where's Dallas? 1 win ahead of the Utah Jazz. Did Zion Williamson make the playoffs in his first year? No, he did not. Did Victor Wembanyama make the playoffs in his first year? Did LeBron James make the playoffs in his first year? He did not. The truth is, the rookie the Jazz draft this year, and they're still going to hold on to their pick, and they're going to get it. And that's why I tell Jazz fans repeatedly, save your hair. Don't let your hair turn gray. Don't panic so badly that you change the quality of your life over every win. It's just simply not worth it. I understand you root for your team and the anxiety that comes with it, but you can take a breath here. The player you wind up with in this year's draft not going to be the reason you get better next year at all. Now, if they really hit an absolute grand slam and win the lottery, that player can have an impact on the team. But winning the lottery has nothing to do with what happened last night. Winning the lottery is the die being cast, is the absolute random chance of it. What you're worried about is falling to 9 and losing your pick. What does 9 yield most years?
Nothing.
Cody Williams.
Yeah.
Taylor Hendricks.
Not nothing. That was disrespectful.
But next to nothing.
But not.
Next to nothing.
Yeah.
Go back to the Keontae George draft. Who got drafted 9? I think it was Bilal Coulibaly. Who do you want, Bilal Coulibaly or number 15 overall pick Keontae George? Keontae's a baller. If the fear is falling to 9, and that's absolutely the worst case scenario, I get it. It's bad. You wasted a season of trying to win and playing hard and giving the fans more fun on a night-to-night basis, because losing has been a part of the narrative this year and a part of the goal. And if you don't get the reward from that, it's a bummer and it's a loss and it's not great. But the player you lose at 9 to the Oklahoma City Thunder is probably not going to dramatically change the future of their franchise or yours at all. In fact, the best thing the Jazz could do is get this 8th pick and package it with Walker Kessler and trade it for a star player. Like, that's actually the best thing they could do with this. If you wanted to say, how do you best make a difference using the 8th overall pick and guarantee you're going to get something different out of it, package it with Lauri Markkanen and go and get Giannis Antetokounmpo. That's the best thing you could do with the 8th pick. If you end up at 8 and you draft a player, he's going to be a rotation player most likely. The idea that you're going to get a star at 8,
a rotation player in 3 years.
Yeah, in 3 years. Yeah. The idea that you're going to get a star with the 8th pick, it has happened. But it can happen at 15. It can happen at 20. Again, we have overvalued the draft pick. We've overvalued just the concept of holding on to the draft pick. In fact, the only thing that would really change the outlook of the Jazz's long-term future is if they win the lottery. And winning the lottery has nothing to do with what happened last night. That is, as we said, that's the random chance that you get. And you can go in with the 10th worst record in the NBA, everything saying you're going to lose this pick to Oklahoma City, and if you move up to the top 3, you keep the pick. It just has to be top 8 after the lottery. I think that's again, the noise and the nuance that gets a little bit lost in this conversation where it's been painted with such a broad brush.
Did you see that Adam Silver put on some sunscreen and went out and made the Hawks
He did.
Get rid of their Magic City night?
In fact, I saw a really funny quote that I lost. He said, I get Magic City, or he said something like, I get the allure of Magic City, but I understand why we had to cancel it. That was funny. Magic City is a very famous gentleman's club in Atlanta, a cultural...
it's also a restaurant. They have famous food. They have
their wings. They're very
wings.
famous for their wings.
Yeah,
In fact,
I just don't like Adam Silver ruling with an iron fist. I think it's dumb. The stuff he picks to do, and listen, I'm not endorsing that. I've never been there, never been to Magic City. I'm not even endorsing that industry or whatever. But
of course,
the Hawks have the right to partner with whoever the heck they want.
Take money wherever they want to take money.
What are you stepping in and messing with this? You had one player with San Antonio bring up some, I mean, valid to some people points, but he's not the arbiter of it all. Let the Atlanta Hawks run their own franchise, for crying out loud. I thought it was interesting that a lot of people from Atlanta were grumpy with the NBA stepping in because they say this is a part of our culture. How dare you? I kind of agree with them.
Yeah.
I don't think the Jazz would have a similar sponsored night,
well,
but Salt Lake City and Atlanta are way different markets.
2 things. One, my wife used to work for the Jazz and has an understanding of how some of these nights, you don't get to make up this night on like March 1st. You don't just get to say, oh, weird. Like, we're just going to do a theme night on March, whatever this was supposed to be. Like, this got approved a very long time ago, and it got approved by people above the Hawks. So there's a very high likelihood, she said, that this was approved by the NBA, and then they get the blowback, and then they cancel it.
And then they cower, yeah.
Also, like a banned book, who does this help?
Magic City.
Exclusively, right? Now, all of a sudden, you have made them the forbidden fruit, which is what they are in the first place, but now you have given them so much national press, where Jake and Ben are talking about Magic City night on a Salt Lake City radio station. I just think it's silly conceptually. That's not the NBA's business. That's honestly Adam Silver way overstepping. I mean, I would say that the Adam Silver finding the Jazz for like managing their own rotation is way overstepping. Totally with you.
Adam Silver can now step in and cancel sponsorship nights for some random teams. Are you serious? Bad look at very least. He's bad at this PR thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's not done a great job with that.
No. All right. It's a Jazz Ticket Tuesday. Go ahead, Christian.
It's Jazz Ticket Tuesday, and your chance to win tickets is right now.
Call this number now.
Call this number now.
Be caller number 12 at 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-ZONE. And you'll be on your way to Delta Center to see the Utah Jazz.
He fires the 3. He hits. Oh, don't do me like that.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Caller number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. You're going to go see the Jazz and the Bucks on Thursday, March 19th at the Delta Center. Tip-off for that game will be at 7 o'clock. Cole Bagley joins us to talk some Mammoth hockey next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Who's got it better than us?
Your home for the best sports coverage in Utah. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Time to talk some Mammoth hockey. His visit on the program is brought to you by our friends at Hercules First Federal Credit Union, growing stronger together. He covers the Mammoth for KSLSports.com. He's Cole Bagley with us here on Jake and Ben. What's going on, Cole?
How much, guys? How are you doing?
Why does Chicago have the Mammoth number?
It's a good question. I think it's less of Chicago being a kryptonite for the Mammoth and more of just Utah has not shown up to play Chicago in any of the 3 games this season. It's been, I don't know if they've just kind of gone into it thinking they can, waltz to a victory, but I mean, they just played probably their worst hockey of the season consistently against Chicago. And, the Blackhawks are a team that, they're not the best, but they do have, a couple really talented young players and Connor Bedard and Frank Nazar, and if you give those guys a little bit of space and you don't play your best game, then they can beat you. So I would say that's more of what it is as opposed to, Chicago just has, Utah's number.
When the Mammoth aren't at their best, what's usually happening?
I think that's a loaded question. I'd say, it kind of comes down to energy and urgency. When they come out and they're hard on the forecheck and they're moving the puck quickly and, they're pressuring teams and they're closing down space, that really allows their offense to flourish because when they're able to win the puck back in the offensive zone, whether that's, dump and chase or, simply just being strong in their pursuit, once they can get the puck back, their skill just takes over, right? They are very, very talented and skilled in terms of finesse, in terms of breaking teams down and finding open space, moving the puck quickly. And so, when they're not doing those things, you get a result like you've seen, a couple times over the last week or so as they've faced Chicago twice and lost those games because, the energy and the urgency hasn't been there. They've been weak on their forecheck, and when they're not getting the puck back in the offensive zone, it's been tough for them to, really get to work. And so I'd say that that's probably the biggest key for Utah is, they've got to play with energy and urgency for 60 minutes. And you saw that last night. I don't know if you guys watched the game, but they had this push with about 3 minutes left to go where they dominated the game. I mean, I think they had about 1 minute and 40 seconds of sustained ozone time because they were doing those things. So, that's really the difference maker for the Mammoth.
With that said, they're 6-2-1 in their last 9 games. They've got, 13 points in that stretch. If they continue at this pace, they're going to cruise into the playoffs, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the fact that even just over these, last 4 games to have 7 out of 8 possible points is huge. I think if you would have told the coaching staff that, hey, through the first 4 games of this road trip, you're going to have 7 points. All of them would be, they would be ecstatic. They would take that in a heartbeat. And, that's why, good teams find ways to manage a point or to, find a way to get wins or even just overtime losses when they're not at their best. That's the difference in getting into the playoffs is, you're not going to be, the best version of yourselves every single night. And so, but can you find ways to still manage points? And so, yeah, I think to be 4 into this road trip, to have 7 and to have an opportunity to get, another or possibly 2 tonight, this is still a very successful road trip. Even if they lose tonight, 7 out of 10 on the road is wildly successful.
What's your first impression of Mackenzie Weegar?
Yeah, I like him. I think his first game was a lot better, but I think a lot of that kind of comes down to, he hasn't played with his, defensive partner yet, right? He has, Mikhail Sergachev has been injured over the last few games. And so I think, we'll probably see more of what Weegar is really capable of, what his true potential is with this team once he's paired with Sergachev on the top line. But yeah, so far, he's been as advertised. He's got a complete 200-foot game. He's a true veteran D-man who makes the right plays, who closes down space, who can, issue the breakout, who can, jump up into the offense at the right moment. He's not gonna take a ton of risks, but when he does, they're well timed, they're well thought out, and I think they usually lead to positive results.
I've only talked to Logan Cooley a couple of times in my life. I did not get the impression that he was going to be the player on the roster that was going to turn heel and be shushing the Columbus crowd and then giving the people's elbow to Connor Bedard last night. He's taken a bit of an angry turn. I think it looks good on him.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree. He's a great kid. He's one of my favorite players to interview and to talk to. I think that one day Logan Cooley will be the captain of the Mammoth. Not to say that Keller's going to lose the sea at any point soon, but whenever I think Keller is done captaining the Mammoth, I would be shocked if Cooley wasn't next in line. He's a very mature kid. He's well thought out in his answers. But yeah, recently we've seen a little bit of fire, and I think off the ice, I've never really seen that fire. But if you pay close attention to him, he's very competitive, and when he steps on that ice, he just wants to win, and he just wants to be the best. And he's had some moments where it's gotten the best of him, right? There was a couple instances last year where he let players get under his skin a little bit, and he took some bad penalties, but he does have a little bit of attitude when he's out there. I think he understands how good he is. He's very competitive, and I mean, you can't beat the shushing Selly, right? Like that is amazing. He is now living rent-free in the heads of Columbus Blue Jackets fans all across Ohio because they did not like that. But Mammoth fans loved it, and, it's something that I would like to continue to see, that type of fire and that kind of swagger from Cooley moving forward.
Is Vanacek playing well enough that Veggie will have some time off down the stretch?
Yeah. He played really well against Philly. That was a big game for him to get a shutout. And then last night, he played well enough for the team to win. That result was more a reflection on how poor the offense was. And I would even argue that, 2 of the 3 goals really weren't his fault. The first one was not his fault whatsoever. The defense got into some trouble on a late back check, and they forced one of the forwards into the crease, and actually a shot deflected off of that forward into the net while Vanacek was being pushed, but it's not goaltender interference because it was a self-inflicted wound by the Mammoth defense. So, no blame on him on that first. The second and the third, yeah, you could probably argue that he could have been in a little bit better position. But, if your goaltender is only going to give up 2 goals a night, again, not really counting that first one, that is good enough for a team to take advantage, especially a team like Utah, to win a game. So, coming down the stretch, Vanacek needs to play more. I think that he's found a good groove. I think that he understands how important it is for him to play. If he wants to remain in the NHL and if he wants another contract, going into this off season, whether it's with Utah or not, he has got to prove. He's got something to prove over these last few games. And for Utah trying to make a playoff push, you don't want Veggie to have to play 17 or 18 of these last 19 games. That's just not sustainable. And, he might be able to carry that load, but if you really want to make some noise in the playoffs, you need Vejmelka to be as fresh as possible. So I would expect that we'll see similar situations with Vanacek where, it's probably an inferior opponent. It's a back-to-back or something, similar to that where, they understand, hey, if we're really going to make the playoffs and if we're going to make some noise, we got to have Vejmelka, at the top of his game. So, yeah, I think he's playing well enough, and hopefully he sees the ice a little bit more down over these last few weeks. Between
Clayton Keller's gold medal run and what we've seen from Cooley since he's come back and played the hero, feels like Dylan Guenther is weirdly going under the radar, despite the fact that he's now up to 30 goals on the season. He's 3rd in points on the team. He just continues to get better, and he's playing extremely well. Yeah,
Dylan has kept his word. Before the season, we were doing media day and we were talking to him about what he wanted to do this season. He said he wanted to diversify, his offense. He wanted to to not just be a one-trick pony that takes one-timers from the left face-off circle. He wanted to be a guy that, was attacking the net, who was scoring greasy goals, who was finding ways to put the puck in the net, aside from just one way that becomes, predictable. And so, for him, he's on track for, I think, 39 goals this season, to be knocking on the door of 40 at just the age of 22. It's incredible. You look at what Utah is building, and you can see so much potential from so many different players. And, I think Dylan Guenther one day will be the franchise leader in goals for the Utah Mammoth. And, I don't know if he'll ever necessarily be beaten or surpassed in that regard. But, yeah, he's a phenomenal player. He has, become a really versatile shooter, a versatile goal scorer. And right now he's top 15 in the league at that 30-goal mark. And the guys surrounding him are, the Connor McDavids and, the Nathan McKinnons and, all the top elite players in this league. Guenther is starting to enter that conversation, at least in terms of goal scoring. So, yeah, it's funny because, there's just so much going on, and he's kind of gone about it in a quiet manner. But, I think that's a good thing, for this team, is to have so much success that, it's not just one guy that's shining.
Cole, thank you. We appreciate it. Thanks for jumping on with us.
Thanks, Cole.
All right. Thanks, Jens.
There you go. Cole Bagley covers the Mammoth for KSLSports.com. Remember, Veggie played like 200 games in a row last year?
It was crazy. And there are a bunch of salty fans. Again, salty fans on Twitter has been one of the themes of the show today. Salty fans from opposing teams that are discounting the Mammoth's ability to win in the playoffs because they are wearing Veggie out down the stretch. But Vanacek's played. He had a shutout not that long ago and then played last night and played okay. He certainly was not the reason that they lost that game. So, we'll see. I think he will be mixed in to keep Veggie healthy the rest of the way, and we'll see how they play.
The Flyers, right? Is who he shut out?
Yeah.
All right, stay tuned. We've got some funny sound coming up next from the world of sports, from the world of tennis.
Oh, okay.
But I love it when people bicker on television, like they forget where they are.
Maybe nothing makes me feel worse, so I'm not excited for this.
Stay tuned. More next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The sports you love, the teams you can't live without.
Get a sense of urgency!
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Two amigos on the airways, talking sports. They got him Matrix and also loves his tie-dye. Ben's got style with his scarf. Oh my. From the islands to the basketball courts.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott, Ben Anderson. This isn't the subject of this, but have you been following Dwight Howard's divorce lately over the past couple of days?
I have not, no.
His wife aired him out for having a lot of cocaine, and now they're abruptly getting divorced.
It's too bad.
Yeah, it's rough. Rough. Anyway.
Dwight's never quite seemed okay.
No.
He's never quite been okay.
All right. I love this stuff, Ben. This is from the Tennis Channel, and I have not heard this. I've just seen it. I haven't really heard it. But former tennis pros Chris Eubanks and Coco Vandeweghe are commentators.
Okay.
But they had a contest along with comedian Hannah Berner to see who could serve the fastest or whatever clocked on the thing. Apparently, Eubanks hit 103, Vandeweghe had 113, and Berner got as high as 87.
Okay.
Okay. So I think that's all we need to set this up. So let's go ahead and play. This is them talking about it afterward.
That's so good.
Chris, what do you have to say for yourself?
Is this going to be a thing now? Like, we're just going to just keep every week just being like, oh, can you break 103?
Chris, we could go back out today before the Big T and try to. I'll wear this dress and throw down maybe a 115. I'll keep it. I'll keep rising.
See, here's the thing about me and you, Coco. I don't like to just bask in my own career and accomplishments. I like to focus on the players. I like to talk about everyone else. I don't want to talk about myself and what I did and what my serve was. It's just, I understand we're a little different. I get that. But let's just try to focus on the players. These are world-class athletes. That's where the focus should be. Not on you and I sitting up here in our little fancy clothes out there trying to test our serve speed.
Well, the difference also between you and I is I keep recreating a new career, and I just did it yesterday. But Hannah and I had a great time, Chris. It was a revenge of our revenge match from the 14 and unders.
Wow.
That was awkward.
Petty.
That's very petty.
Whoa, petty. First of all, I think old Chris Eubanks was just a little embarrassed that he lost to somebody of the female gender. But it's all right, dude. It's all right. Coco Vandeweghe, she's still slinging at 113 with that serve.
Yeah.
She's got it going, dude. It's all right. You settle down.
Chris Eubanks is 6'7", so you'd think that leverage he'd be able to really get it up there, really get the speed going. But
Well,
Coco still has
maybe
it.
he's like old Noodle Arm. Who were we calling Noodle Arm the other day?
I can't remember.
Maybe he noodled it out there at 103. It's all right, dude.
Kind of interesting. Coco is 5 years older than Chris Eubanks is. She was born in 91. He was born in 96.
So you're saying he should feel shame?
Yeah, a little bit. He's 6'7". You can't get out there and still spike that thing? Come on, man.
I love it that he's like, I don't live in the past and
I'm
talk
trying to
about
move
my.
on.
What do you mean move on, dude? You just had a serving contest.
Yeah, right. You agreed to do this. He's embarrassed he lost. And
By
now
a
he's
lot.
trying to buy a lot, and now he's trying to move on from it. He made $3.8 million in his career, per my friends at Wikipedia. Coco, who is the niece of Kiki, which if I had a famous brother named Kiki, I'm not sure I would name my daughter Coco, but whatever. She made $8.2 million in her career, so she is she did double up his career earnings. She's more successful.
Yeah, obviously she's better, stronger, better serve.
Never made a Grand Slam final. She made the semifinals in the Australian Open in 2017 and the U.S. Open, so she had a big year in 2017.
How old is she?
She is 36.
Okay.
34. She's born in 91. 34.
Okay.
Chris Eubank is 29. Still in his 20s. There are a lot of pros out there still in their 20s that are serving well over 100.
You should be embarrassed, Chris.
Yeah, Chris, I do think that's on you, dog.
That's Ben's message to you. What if he had like shoulder surgery or something? You feel bad?
Don't care. Serve left-handed. His best run was he made the quarterfinals at Wimbledon in 2023. Don't remember you, Chris.
Was he underhand serving it or something?
He's purely a volley guy. He just wants to get the ball in play. That's where he might be able to beat you. 6'7", your whole identity has to be your serve, right?
He's the guy like I guess pickleball people now that just taps it in, just get it
Drops
in.
it over the drop
Just
shot
drop-
guy. No, not at 6'7", you're not drop shot guy.
I think he was really embarrassed. It's all right, Chris.
100%.
It's
And
all
then he
right,
got
dude.
personal with it, and he
Yeah.
thought Coco was, which you just got to move on from it.
It's all right, dude.
That's awkward. And I'm team Coco here.
It reminds me of an arm wrestling contest that was once happened in the in the studio. Just some embarrassment. It's all right.
There will be no physical feats done on this in this station the rest of time. PK hit a hook shot over me at Jazz Media Day training camp, and it's the single greatest thing that's ever happened to him. I think he will not put that away.
Yeah, probably not.
That's good for him.
I'm
I'm not going to Chris Eubanks him.
Scotty G and friends are coming up next. We'll talk to you tomorrow on Jake and Ben.
Thanks, Christian.
97.5 DKSL Sports Zone.